The only way to get an avoidant to open up. If you've ever loved someone with an avoidant attachment style, you know the frustration. You try to talk about feelings, they change the subject. You ask what's wrong, they say nothing. You move closer emotionally, and somehow they take two steps back. And the more you push for connection, the more they seem to shut down. So the real question becomes, what is the only way to get an avoidant to open up? The answer is not chasing. It's not demanding vulnerability. It's not proving your loyalty over and over again. The only way to get an avoidant to open up is to create emotional safety without pressure, and that starts with you regulating yourself first. Because avoidants don't open up when they feel cornered. They open up when they feel free. Most avoidant individuals develop their patterns early in life. According to attachment theory, originally developed by John Bowlby and later expanded by Mary Ainsworth, children learn whether the world is emotionally safe based on how caregivers respond to their needs. When emotions were dismissed, criticized, or ignored, the child adapts by suppressing vulnerability. They learn that expressing need equals rejection or overwhelm. So as adults, they don't avoid intimacy because they don't feel, they avoid it because feeling feels unsafe. When conflict arises, their nervous system doesn't think, let's talk. It thinks, protect yourself. And protection for them looks like distance. Here's the mistake most people make. When the avoidant withdraws, they pursue harder. They text more, they ask deeper questions, they demand reassurance. But pressure, even loving pressure, activates the avoidant's fear of engulfment. It confirms their unconscious belief that closeness equals losing autonomy. So they shut down further. The only way to reverse this dynamic is counterintuitive. You have to remove the pressure while maintaining your presence. That means you don't chase, but you also don't punish. You don't beg for emotional crumbs, but you also don't explode. You become steady. Emotional steadiness is magnetic to an avoidant. When you can say, I'd love to understand what you're feeling, but I respect your pace, and actually mean it, you signal safety. When you can tolerate silence without spiraling into anxiety, you show them that emotions don't have to be chaotic. Avoidants are hypersensitive to emotional intensity. If they sense that your stability depends on their immediate vulnerability, they feel responsible for regulating you, and that feels suffocating. But when they see that you can handle your own emotions, something shifts. Their guard lowers, not because you forced it down, but because it no longer feels necessary. Another powerful principle: speak about yourself, not about what they're failing to do. Instead of, you never open up, try, sometimes I feel disconnected when we don't talk about what's really going on. That subtle shift removes accusation. Avoidants are wired to detect criticism quickly. Even neutral feedback can feel like attack. But when you focus on your internal experience, you create space for dialogue rather than defense. The goal isn't to win an argument, it's to lower their nervous system threat response. Timing also matters more than you think. Avoidants rarely open up in the heat of conflict. Their system needs calm before clarity. If you try to extract vulnerability during an argument, you'll likely get shut down or stonewalling. But after space, when emotions are settled, that's when gentle curiosity works. A calm, I was thinking about earlier, what was that like for you, is far more effective than an intense, why won't you talk to me? Delivery determines outcome. Here's the deeper truth most people don't want to hear. You cannot force an avoidant to open up if they are not willing to confront their own patterns. You can create safety. You can model vulnerability. You can stop over-functioning. But growth requires self-awareness. Some avoidants begin to soften when they realize the relationship is stable and not trying to trap them. Others only change when they risk losing someone who refuses to chase anymore. And that's where boundaries come in. Emotional safety does not mean emotional self-abandonment. If you're constantly suppressing your needs just to avoid triggering them, the dynamic becomes imbalanced. Ironically, clear boundaries often create more respect and more openness than endless accommodation. There's also something powerful about silence used wisely. When you stop filling every emotional gap, avoidants sometimes begin to notice the absence. When you stop over-explaining and over-pursuing, they have room to feel their own emotions instead of reacting to yours. This doesn't mean playing games. It means stepping out of the anxious avoidant dance. Because the more one partner chases, the more the other runs. But when the chasing stops, the dynamic resets. The avoidant is no longer reacting. They're choosing. Ultimately, the only way to get an avoidant to open up is to stop trying to make them open up. Create safety. Regulate yourself. Communicate without accusation. Respect space without abandoning your standards. And most importantly, watch their actions over time. Real openness isn't dramatic confession. It's small, consistent vulnerability. A longer answer than usual. A moment of honesty they wouldn't have shared before. Progress with an avoidant is subtle, but it's real when it's happening. And remember this, someone opening up is not the same as someone committing to growth. Don't measure love by how much potential you see. Measure it by how much effort they show. Because a healthy relationship isn't built on extracting emotions from someone who's afraid. It's built on two people learning that vulnerability doesn't have to equal danger. When an avoidant truly feels safe, not pressured, not cornered, not controlled, that's when the walls begin to lower. Not because you force them down, but because they finally realize they don't need them anymore.